Anyway, I'm Suzanne Arruda, and I want to welcome you tonight. I brought with me Sam Featherstone. For those of you who have been reading, this is Sam Featherstone with his little Jenny. His is yellow, but this one is, And then our special mascot for this book, Mr. Chompers, all excited to come. So, and if anybody gets out of hand, lock and load. And I'm also, I'm also geared with my knife, so I can,
dead cold hands.
I can take care of, anybody like that, and give ta-da. Jade doesn't quite look like Barbie Goes to Africa on this cover like she did on the last one, so a little different. I'd like to start out by introducing you a little bit to the time and place that Jade is at in this book before I take you into a little of the plot, and we of course play Who Wants to Be Jade Del Cameron for fabulous prizes, because that's why anybody is here, chance to win fabulous prizes playing that. This is 1921, and Nairobi is really growing. It's quite a well-developed city. There are people who live in Nairobi who have never seen a lion. They don't see much wildlife. And it's very much like people who live in Mission, Kansas who have never seen a coyote or a fox. They're here and they're around you, but they're hiding. They don't much care for the noise and the crowds. So they come out at night, or they hide, or they prowl through a little bit on the side. But the wildlife is around, but by and large a lot of the wildlife has gotten pushed farther afield. There's a lot less for the predators to eat, unless they go to take somebody's goats or sheep, and then they get shot for that. So they've gone farther away. So if you live in Nairobi and you really want to see wildlife, you have to wait for the zebras to come stampeding into town, which they do once in a while. Last month there were 2 zebras running around, though, in San Diego, I saw on the news, so things haven't changed all that much. That's right, and they were just trotting around, which makes it all the more startling, doesn't it? But you don't see very much wildlife there. They have 2 movie theaters and plays, the Theatre Royale and the Nairobi Theatre. That show the latest in movies, the motion pictures, that show a lot of acting troupes coming through. They have their own local theatricals that are putting on plays and performances. There is, of course, the horsey set, the people who live to breed horses and race them on the race ground. Race Week occurs twice a year, not just once a year. It's twice a year, primarily. New Year's Eve is the culmination of a big race week, and there's another one in June, late June, for another big race week. Always a lot of fancy dress balls, costume balls, flannel balls, which I finally found out meant you came casual. It was not the white tie stuff, it was casual, which for a gentleman would mean a suit of some sort, but it was still casual sort of thing. That was a flannel dance. A lot of sporting teams. They had their football, soccer, they had their rugby, they had their cricket matches, lots of different organizations. And going into that, they weren't leaving the young people out either. Scouting had been developed, and the Boy Scout troop opened in 1921, a month after the Girl Guides opened in Nairobi. The Girl Guides, which are now Girl Scouts, were developed by Agnes Baden-Powell, General Baden-Powell's sister, and it was designed on the same plan really that the Boy Scouts were there for, to do your duty to God and country. With the British it was often said to king and country, and God was sort of in there somewhere, but that showed up in a lot of the things. For those of you who follow my weekly blog, which comes up on a Monday, I've been talking about the Girl Guides for the past month. Each Monday for the past 4 times I've been doing something about the Girl Guides as they would have been, and pulled things out of their actual original handbook, which I got electronically. This week's entry, the one that came out yesterday, was kind of an eye-opener because they're talking about the chapter on life-saving. And we think, if I asked you what you would think would be in a thing on life-saving, you would imagine, you know, bandaging a broken arm, a splint, making a stretcher, that sort of thing. There was that type of stuff, but there was the ultimate as well. The paragraph that struck me was when Agnes Baden-Powell is saying, you know, you must always be prepared, same motto as the Boy Scouts, you must always be prepared. So in other words, you are on a busy train platform. You should be thinking, what if one of these people falls on the tracks? What will I do? If the train is close, you know then that you can leap down and drag them into the 6-foots, which is just off of the track. And if you cannot get that far, then press them down and you and the person lie flat under the rails and let the train go over you. You will be saving their life while all around you are screaming and flailing, not knowing what to do. This is what they're telling the girls. Okay? But remember, we've just come out of the Great War not that many years ago, and people are still of a mindset that life is serious, and doing your duty meant sometimes an extreme. So this is what's happening in Nairobi. Now, when we last left our intrepid explorer, Jade Del Cameron, she's in a bit of a quandary. How many of you have not read Treasure of the Golden Cheetah? Okay, then I won't tell you how we last left our intrepid explorer, Jade, because I don't want to ruin an ending for her. We have left her in a bit of a quandary. Suffice to say, Sam Featherstone is going to head back to the States to sell his motion picture, and she has decisions to make. Let's leave it at that, because that one I think most of you can probably figure anyway a little bit. Jade doesn't commit readily, and so she still has some commitment issues of what to do. And she has spent part of the time in between Golden Cheetah and Crocodile's Last Embrace wandering around through the battlefields of Europe, doing a story for the Traveler on what's happened to the old battlefields, what they look like now. Now that's all backstory. You don't see her there, but you will hear some of her experiences. She's been seeing ghosts, essentially, haunted by the experiences going back to the war, where she thought it might help her put some things at rest and make some decisions. It's opening up old wounds, making things more complicated for her. So she's come back to Nairobi in a rather unsettled frame of mind. She's come back to Nairobi for two reasons. One, Sam should be back by now, dang it, she's going to be there in case he is, so she can kick his butt for leaving to begin with, you know, kind of thing. And Beverly has called her back because Beverly is leading this troop of Girl Guides and desperately needs Jade's help. You can imagine what Jade will teach our little darling Girl Guides. And in the opening scene, Jade is giving a demonstration on knife throwing. And actually, when you read the old Girl Guide manual, it really wouldn't have been out of keeping very much, but some of the mothers are a little less than happy with this. And the governor's wife, Lady Northey, who has very old-fashioned opinions on the role of women and that no single woman belongs in the colony to begin with. And she stated that in the newspaper and got ripped for it really badly, too, by a lot of people in the newspaper.
A lot of single men.
Well, she especially frowned on any of the single women trying to start up farms and do any of that. Possibly they could be a clerk, but only, you know, for a temporary sort of time. She really had very, very outdated ideas. So she's really not very happy with what Jade is teaching either. But this is where Jade is coming into. Jade is still realizes this is still Africa, and she's trying to prepare these girls to be something other than ladies who can set a place for tea and, you know, be little society matrons. She's trying to bring them into what the Girl Guide's vision actually is, as Agnes Baden-Powell saw it. So that's where she is, and we'll do the rest of what's going on there as I go over the answers to who wants to be Jade Del Cameron. But we'll do it the way we have been. You'll ask I'll ask questions, you'll answer them, you'll cheat, we'll, grade them, you'll cheat some more, and then we take them up and draw for prizes. And as I go over the answers, I'll be able to tell you more about the plot.